Hi, I'm Danny from House Fresh, and I will tell you today a secret about dehumidifiers that most brands don't want you to know. What if I told you that most of the dehumidifier models you see online are actually manufactured in the same factories using the same mold and even electronics? How do I know? Well, I started digging into safety recall notices, and what I found was fascinating. In 2021, a manufacturer called New Widetech recalled 2 million dehumidifiers due to fire and burn hazards. The number alone is shocking, but what surprised me the most was the list of brands affected by the recall. Honeywell, Frigidaire, Danby, DeLonghi, Whirlpool, all made in the same place. Then it happened again in 2023 with another manufacturer called Gree. This time they were recalling 1.56 million dehumidifiers from well-known brands like Kenmore and GE. The moral of the story is that most dehumidifiers on the market are just produced in a handful of the same factories. While you think you're choosing between dozens of different brands and models, you're often choosing between different logos slapped onto the same machine. With that in mind, let me tell you which dehumidifier brands and models are worth it and which ones you should avoid. To help put this list together, I purchased 11 of the most popular models across all sizes, ranging from large 145-pint devices to tiny machines designed to be used in a closet. To test the performance of the dehumidifiers, we designed a repeatable test inside our Shorty Gorilla tent using our Levoit Classic 300S humidifier on our sensor push wireless hydrometer. We used our humidifier to raise the humidity levels to 94% and then left the tent for 5 minutes for the numbers to stabilize before we set the dehumidifier to its top speed for 30 minutes and recorded the results. We repeated this test a minimum of 3 times for each device, and we also tested the natural decay without any dehumidifier running. We also used a Machir and Pony PN2500 energy meter to measure how much electricity each dehumidifier uses at top speed, and a BFX Products Advanced Sound Level meter to measure how much noise each device generates from 3 feet away. Before I share my top pick, let me give you a warning. In my experience, dehumidifiers with pumps break more often. The internal pump for our Home Labs 4,000 square foot version broke after only just a few months of usage. I replaced it with the Moiswell 145-pint XP70, and the pump broke within a couple of months too. After doing some more reading, I discovered that pumps are one of the most common components to break in a dehumidifier. Based on this, my main takeaway is to avoid dehumidifiers with internal pumps and instead use gravity drain hoses. It's worth noting that some larger dehumidifiers can be used with a separate pump, so if you do need the ability to pump the water, I recommend going down that route rather than buying a model with an inbuilt pump. Based on my experience testing and reviewing air purifiers, I expected to see a lot more variation across models in terms of dehumidification and energy usage. However, I was surprised to see that the performance across refrigerant models was pretty consistent, with the main difference being design. This leads us neatly to my top pick for most people, the Midea Cube. The Midea Cube series is unique and stands out from the standard rectangular designs we've come to expect from most dehumidifiers. And it makes sense considering that Midea, unlike many of the other brands in this space, actually manufacture their own devices. In fact, a 2021 recall notice showed that Midea was the manufacturer behind dehumidifier models being sold under huge brand names like Honeywell, GE and Danby. The cube is a simple cube that you can stack up. The bucket sits at the bottom of the device and the fan sits at the top. You also get a filter at each side of the device to capture dust and large particles from going inside. On the control panel, you get buttons for adjusting the desired humidity, choosing the pump type, selecting how high you want the bucket to fill up, and a timer. You also get a screen that shows you the level of humidity in the air. While it wasn't the fastest at removing humidity from our grow tent, the Midea Cube does an excellent job without making your ears bleed from the sound. In our sound test, we recorded a livable 54.1 decibels, which is much lower than the 60 to 70 decibels you can expect from units of this size from brands like Honeywell, Frigidaire and GE. Now, I know that noise is subjective, so please have a listen for yourself. Even though the Cube is radically different from your usual dehumidifier, the design is still as energy efficient as many other models on the market. In fact, the Midea Cube has been certified by Energy Star as having an energy efficiency of 1.9 litres per kilowatt hour, which means that it can remove 1.9 litres of water per kilowatt hour. However, the real benefit lies in its design. Most dehumidifiers, they have a bucket that's big, about 1 to 2 gallons. The Midea Cube bucket is this big, around 4 gallons. That means you're emptying it less than half as often. You also get 4 options ranging from the 20 pint cube to the 50 pint cube with a pump, and prices range from $189 to $270, but I would stick to the non-pump version due to my experience with pumps in general. There are 2 downsides to be aware of. The first one is that the cube is more of a pain to empty than a traditional design, because the water bucket gets really heavy, especially when it's completely full. Luckily, you can set it to only fill up the half or quarter of its capacity, making it carrying it easier. You can also do what I do and use it with a gravity hose, which sits much higher than other models and has no issues pulling water away 24/7 without you having to empty the water yourself. The second downside is the Media app isn't easy to set up, at least if you have an iPhone like me, and you can't use it on a 5 GHz Wi-Fi, so you have to create a Wi-Fi connection that only has 2.4 GHz. And be aware that even though the app lets you use your Apple account to log in, this won't work, so you're better off using just a standard email address login. But all in all, most people, I would suggest checking out one of the non-pump versions of the Media Cube. I have the 50 pint version running continuously in this basement, and this allows us to have a YouTube studio that isn't covered in mold. Best traditional dehumidifier? It's a Honeywell. I've tested dehumidifiers from Frigidaire, Moiswell, Home Labs, ProBreeze, GE, Ivation, 2Life, 9Sky, Xiaomi, and eBac. In my experience, units from Honeywell stand out for their build quality, and they're also great at reducing humidity levels. And it makes sense because the Honeywell brand has been in the dehumidifier industry for decades. In terms of raw performance, the Honeywell 50 pint model was the quickest at removing humidity in our grow tent across all the models we tested. However, this performance doesn't come without its downsides. When we tested the sound levels generated by this Honeywell model, we found that it reaches 68.6 decibels. This is comparable to a vacuum cleaner or a dishwasher. I personally find it super loud in the home, but I don't mind it having it in the basement, but have a listen for yourself. In terms of energy, Energy Star certified the Honeywell 50 pint model has been able to remove 1.9 litres of water per kilowatt hour, which matches what you'll get with the Media Cube. I have both the 30 pint and the 50 pint version of the Honeywell, and I have to say, both units look pretty much identical, with the only real difference being in the size. I particularly like the solid handle at the top, which is much needed when you need to move the dehumidifier around. As I said before, I suggest you avoid the Honeywell models with internal pumps. Also, just like with air purifiers, go for as big as you can handle, because larger models will be able to remove humidity quicker, so have the potential to use less energy overall. By the way, I saw that the Honeywell's latest model, the TP Fit range, has managed to improve efficiency to 2.01 litres per kilowatt hour, which puts it at the top of the Energy Star database of more than 600 dehumidifier models. This is my first video about dehumidifiers, so let me know in the comments if you'd like me to keep working on this, and I will invest more into testing new models like the TP Fit range from Honeywell. My top picks can be bulky and they might not fit your space, so let me tell you about small dehumidifiers that work as well as the big boys. The Ivation 13 pint desiccant dehumidifier. For those who are short on space, the Ivation 13 pint could be a good choice. It's half the size of the Media Cube and the Honeywell, but it still managed to reduce the humidity in our grow room nearly as fast as they did. And it did this while generating just 53.8 decibels, which is a lot quieter than what you can expect from those larger devices. But it's not just the size that is different about the Ivation. Up to now, I've been recommending refrigerant dehumidifiers, which use a condensation process to remove moisture from the air. But this Ivation device is a desiccant dehumidifier, so it extracts moisture from the air and doesn't rely on cooling. This means that the Ivation will be better at removing humidity from the air in colder climates compared to the Media and Honeywell. But be aware that it will be less efficient in warmer environments. In terms of controls, you get 3 modes: low, high, and sleep, or you can just set the desired humidity level, and you get a button to dim the lights, and a timer button, and a button to adjust the direction of the warm air at the back of the device. You get a choice of using the bucket or a gravity hose depending on where you will place it and how you want to use it in your day-to-day. This is the smallest dehumidifier I would recommend for people. If you go smaller than this, then you're likely to waste your money. And speaking of money, let me introduce you to the best cheap dehumidifier for those in Europe and Asia, the Xiaomi Smart Dehumidifier Lite. Now, my top picks so far are good options for those in the US, but I have very different recommendations for my viewers in Europe and Asia who don't want to spend more than €250. The small yet powerful Xiaomi Smart Dehumidifier Lite. Yes, a dehumidifier that looks like an air purifier. Sadly, Xiaomi is not available in North America, but if you are in a country where you can get hold of the Smart Dehumidifier Lite, then know that it is a good investment. In terms of performance, this Xiaomi device completed our grow tent test nearly as fast as dehumidifiers, double its size and its price. A big reason why I love my Xiaomi Smart Lite is how quiet it is. At top speed, we measured just 43 decibels from 3 feet away, but noise can be subjective, so have a listen for yourself. In terms of design, it's pretty small and easy to live with compared to the beasts that are the Honeywell and the MediaCube devices. On the control panel, you get a button to set different modes, including a smart mode that keeps humidity levels stable at a point that you set, a sleep mode that runs quieter, and a closed drying mode that runs at top speed. You also get a button to set the fan speed, a timer button, and a display that shows humidity levels in real time. Plus, as we've come to expect from Xiaomi, this device comes with smartphone connectivity through the Mi Home app. So if you already have Xiaomi devices, then this could be a great addition to your smart home. Right, before I move on to tell you which dehumidifiers are not worth your money, let me give a shout out to a brand near me, eBac Dehumidifiers. If you live in the UK, I have a special recommendation. As a resident of the north of England, I know that our kind of damp is different and our electricity bills can be a lot higher. And those electricity bills are no joke. For example, running the large Moiswell dehumidifier that we tested here in the UK, it could cost over 1.2k per year. The good news is that I found a UK brand that designs dehumidifiers for the UK environment with an onboard smart mode that can keep humidity down without adding continuously to your energy bill. eBac is a British company that has been manufacturing dehumidifiers in County Durham since 1972. So if you live in the UK and want to support a local business, then eBac is the way to go. When it comes to performance, the results of the eBac 3850E match what you'll get with the Xiaomi I just told you about. And it did this while generating 54.3 decibels, which is equivalent to a fridge humming in the background. We have our eBac 3850E in our dining room, and the 54.3 decibels don't get in the way of conversations on day to day, but have a listen for yourself. Another big benefit is that eBac has redesigned the water bucket and turned it into a sort of watering can, so it's much easier to empty it when full compared to your standard bucket design. Now, let me tell you about the dehumidifier you should avoid. You've probably seen lots of these tiny, quiet, cheap mini dehumidifiers on Amazon. Brands like ProBreeze are best sellers and they seem like the perfect solution, right? Finally, a small dehumidifier that's easy to find a space for. All of these mini models are known as Peltier dehumidifiers because they use the thermoelectric or Peltier effect that leads moisture in the air to condense and stay inside the device. This means that Peltier dehumidifiers can be small, quiet, cheap, and fairly low in energy usage. Unfortunately, based on our tests, these mini dehumidifiers can be a waste of your money, so my advice is just to avoid them completely. As the graph shows, the mini Peltier devices are just a tiny bit better at removing moisture from the air than the natural dehumidification rate, and I doubt that many people are living in a space as small as my shorty Gorilla Grow tent with no ventilation. So if you're looking for a small dehumidifier, don't go smaller than the Ovation 13 pint. And whatever you do, avoid models with built-in pumps if you can, as in my experience, they tend to break within just a few months. I've put links to all the recommended models in the description below. They are affiliate links, which means if you make a purchase, we get a small commission at no extra cost to you, which helps us buy more machines to test for future videos. And that's it from me. This is my first video about dehumidifiers, so let me know in the comments if you'd like me to keep testing new models, and I'll see you all in the next video. Okay, that's great.